For the purposes of this interview, for viewers who may not know this history, what was the Beaumont Race Riot and what events led up to it?
So back in the 19, sorry, excuse me. So back in 1943, during World War II, Beaumont was a huge shipbuilding port. So that caused a number of people to come to the area searching for jobs. So during that time, blacks and whites were living in close quarters, having to work together at the shipyard. There was also food shortages and housing shortages. So it kind of led to a very tense time. There were an allegation of a rape and an assault that happened during June, early June, and that tension just kind of boiled up. So one of the alleged assaults was to a shipyard worker's daughter. So when the shipyard workers found out about it and that the alleged assailant was down at the jail, over anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 shipyard workers and other individuals came to downtown Beaumont to see if they could enlist their own brand of justice. The police officer at the time, police chief, did not turn the suspect over. So this mob of people went into the black community and destroyed businesses and homes around Gladys, Forsyth, and some other areas of downtown.
Gotcha. And then what were some immediate consequences for black residents when the riot unfolded?
So from the research, it said that over 2,000 black residents left the area immediately. The city was under martial law for 3 days. 3 people died during the event. I question what that event did to the I question what that event did to the culture and environment of Southeast Texas and how it affects life today. There are individuals that were very reluctant to talk about what happened, both black and white, and still to this day.
Gotcha. So with that being said, what is something that local leaders and law enforcement did responding to the riot, and then did they talk about how to address it going forward afterward?
So there were a number of people arrested after the riot, but none of them faced any harsh penalties. The person that was allegedly attacked said that this was something that, I'm paraphrasing, something that she just kind of came up to break the monotony or boredom of her life.
Mm.
So I think the lesson is that your words have consequences. So I think we need to be mindful of, how we conduct ourselves and how we talk to one another. In creating this project with my colleagues, Wyatt Cagle and Kenneth Dupuy, we wanted to tell a story about fatherhood, community, love, and have a universal notion. So that's how the example came to be. When we started working on this film over 10 years ago, some individuals thought that we were just trying to start something or start controversy. And it's just, we wanted to create an awareness of history, but also how we can learn from that and find humanity and that connective, universal thing that people have connected to for 10 years now.
Gotcha. What are some misconceptions that people have about what happened, if you've heard any?
Well, I think anytime they hear the word riot, they assume that it goes a certain way or a certain group of people are involved in, especially when we were setting the example to film festivals and wanting to talk. Sorry, let me go back.
Mm-hmm.
When people hear race riot, they assume that it's a box, that it's only a certain group of people we know how that plays out. And once you look deeper into what was happening and why it was happening, I think it's been eye-opening. So people that have watched the example and they dig more into the story, they learn. So I feel like with this project, we introduced a piece of history to an audience, and we hope that they learn the things, but they also from the film, but also they go and learn more about history of their family, history of their community, etc.
So why is it important that the people of Beaumont understand this chapter of the city's history?
As we celebrate America 250, I think this is all a part of that history. Good, bad, or indifferent, I think we need to have an awareness of history to hopefully not allow those things to happen again.
Gotcha. Do you feel like there's still racial tension within the city?
So I choose not to answer that one because
I understand.
I don't live here,
Mm-hmm.
even though I am connected and being connected. I feel like that's not something for me to kind of.
Gotcha. Okay, I was just wondering. And then, what lessons can communities today learn from the events of the race riot?
As I mentioned previously, I think there's a mindfulness that we need to have of each other as humans. The example touches on that, the story of these two fathers and what they were dealing with, and they just wanting to protect their families the best way they could possibly. I think everybody is just trying to do the best that they can. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they're not mindful of that or other people or other people's feelings that may not look like them as they go on in this journey of life. So it's just having that mindfulness, having compassion, and actually showing the love that we should have for one another that many people profess. It would be great to see that in action.
And then, what happens when communities fail to acknowledge difficult parts of their history, like this riot?
From what I found out, there's a lot of people that just don't know. Because again, this was not talked about. So when people find out about it, they want to know more. I think that understanding of what caused it and the conversations that come after that, that's the important thing. We have to talk to one another. We've had screenings of the example and the dialogue during the question and answer sessions may have been difficult, but people were talking, people were connecting. People stayed after the premiere at the Jefferson Theater because they wanted to talk about it. And I think that's the beauty of working in this medium, telling a historical fiction story, but also finding something that people can connect to, those conversations, going out in the community. I think that's helpful.
Okay. Are there families or neighborhoods that continue to carry the effects of what happened?
Again, who knows what that event, how that event affected this community? You know, the studies that unconsciously and subconsciously that individuals carry that kind of hurt with them. So that's family trauma. That's family trauma. That's generational trauma. So the effects of that, who can say?
Gotcha. And I don't know if this is a subject that's taught in local schools, but if it's not, and if it is, do you think that's something that should be taught or continue to be taught?
Well, growing up in 7th grade Texas history, this is not something I found out about. I found out about this over 20 years ago because I had a movie poster book that focused on African American films, and it said there were race riots in Detroit, Los Angeles, and Beaumont, Texas in 1943. And that was it. So that one line started the research, and it's kind of grown a lot more from there. And I think we've been able to tell a powerful story and bring awareness to the historical event.
And then I understand it's been 15 years since the short film has been produced. Why was the film created in the first place? Why did you want to do this?
Cool. So 10 years ago, no, not yet. 10 years ago, we premiered the example at the historic Jefferson Theater on the same streets where the riot actually took place. It was a diverse group of people that brought this project to life. That's when I look back at the success and all the things that have come from this, that moment of seeing this diverse group of people that took their time and care to work on this project, I think that's the lesson, that when people come together of all different backgrounds, great things can happen. Initially, we wanted to tell a story about fatherhood and the connectivity that we all have as humans. And I think that we accomplished that. And because of that, we brought more awareness to the history, and this event will eventually have a historical marker. So that's the power of creativity and people coming together. There's an awareness that has been created, and this is all beyond what we dreamed about.
Gotcha. And then has the short film, won any achievements or awards or accomplishments that you would want to share?
Most definitely. I can send you that information. It's actually here at the Terrell Historical Library. And it's also at the Black Film Cinema Archive at Indiana University, which is the only repository for Black film in the world. So for a 23-minute project from Southeast Texas to have accomplished what it has in the last 10 years, I think that says a lot about the talent that we have here, but also the importance of history.
Gotcha. And then, what reactions have stood out to you from people who've watched the film over the years?
There's a moment in the film to where the audience does a collective gasp because the tension is so high. I think it's those moments within the film that allows for conversation afterwards. So the dialogue and the conversation that we were able to create after screening the projects, that's one of the most powerful things that has come from this work.
And then why do visual storytelling projects like these matter when documenting difficult parts of history?
Unfortunately, people don't read as much as they used to. So we feel that if we can introduce a tidbit of history, hopefully they will go and learn more. I strongly feel that if you can entertain, you can educate. So sometimes it's giving a spoonful of sugar as the medicine goes down, and hopefully that's healing at some point.
And what do you think younger generations could take away from the example?
I hope younger generations watch the film and see commonalities in people that look like them and don't look like them. but also in light of all the things that are happening, I want people to see the value of life, the value of their life, and also the value of other people's lives as well.
And then I know you said there was a discussion about placing a historical marker of the phone. What is the progress on that, and where would that be placed?
We are hoping the historical marker will be completed by the end of 2026, and it will go between the Julie Rogers Theater and the library downtown Beaumont.
Gotcha. And why would a marker like this what would a marker like this symbolize for the community?
I think it's a recognition of the event that happened. Hopefully, people will be more willing to share this history because it's important.
And then some people might ask, and I'm playing devil's advocate, why revisit painful history? How do you respond to that?
Good, bad, or indifferent, it's history. It is what it is, without putting any lens or these events happen, learn about them. Let's hopefully learn how to make sure these things don't happen again.
And then what would success look like for you when it comes to historical recognition for the riot?
For me,
Or I guess Jefferson County as a whole, the city as a whole, what would success look like for that marker to be placed?
the success is the history being shared, whether that's between family members or after a screening or after the opportunity that I have to present this information at the conference, for the information to be shared and be talked about. And then we want healing to take place through all the work that has been created. That's the goal. That's the success.
And then when you were doing your research, what story or piece of research affected you the most during your work on this topic and even creating the film The Example?
To hear the stories that came about from people that lived or their parents lived during this time. There were stories to where there was white business owners downtown that kept their black employees safe, making sure they didn't go out into the riot. There were also black people taking care of white people, and all. There was a sense of community amongst the chaos. There were black family members standing or hiding in brush or bushes outside of their homes just to make sure their family was safe. Those are the kind of stories that kind of get lost in the race riot narrative, but people were still helping each other in spite of, and those stories need to be shared. As far as the film, historical fiction, yes, but there's a moment in The Example to where an officer spits in another person's face. And I wrote this, but even on set, I had to turn away when it happened because that resonated something in me. It was difficult to watch. So it's those emotional moments that we hope people can connect with, understand that pain, frustration, or hurt of not being able to protect the people that they love.
If victims and survivors could see today's conversations about remembrance and recognition, what do you think they would want people to know?
What would they want people to know? That's a fascinating question. I think they would appreciate the resilience, the ability to push through. I think some of them, I think a lot of them were questioning what's happening now. I think that's something that they would wrestle with. And I don't know what their answer would be.
Okay. And then just the closing question. If you have 1 minute to explain the Beaumont Race Riot and why it still matters in 2026, what would you say?
Very cliche and very short statement, but history matters. You know, a phrase that I use often is always a student. So I think we need to learn history, learn more about ourselves, learn more about our environment, learn more about the individuals around us, and learn more about the community and the world around us. And if we have a better understanding of that, I think a lot of the ills that we face will diminish greatly. But that effort to educate is necessary.
Is there anything else you want to share with viewers about the Beaumont Race Riot, the example short film, or the historical market that's in the works right now?
The film is available on YouTube, and it's also available here at the Terrell Historical Library. It's 23 minutes. Take a watch, share, have conversations, and again, just be mindful.
And then, very last question I just thought of is why do you think conversations about this event are so important to have amongst families?
I think conversation is just important, period. Especially in this time of people constantly on phones and all the distractions. I think it's important just to have conversation, period. That level of communication and understanding, again, breaks down a number of issues personally, professionally, culturally. I think it's important to be shared in family discussions because if your family descendants had a business during that time in 1943 that was burned down, how did your descendants, how did your ancestors handle that? Did they rebuild? Did they stay? Did they go somewhere else and be prosperous? Learning that family history is very important. I had a conversation with Pastor Felshaw, former city council person. He had an uncle that passed away during the race riot. Him coming to me and sharing that with me, that's an important dialogue. You see how people are connected to the story. So no matter your race, I think having those conversations inspires conversations about family history. What was our family doing in the 40s, the 50s? To help you understand place, family, community, all those conversations are important.